GmbH from Germany for the design and installation of...
Model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
You are watching Good Morning Uganda. This is time for our newsreel. My name is Olive Monica Najoma. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, today we will be delving into a conversation regarding human genetics and bioinformatics. Yes, it's a mouthful, but it is the 15th Africa Society of Human Genetics Conference and the first Ugandan Society of Human Genetics and Bioinformatics. Now, I will be speaking to Professor Davida Katete, who is the Dean of the School of Biomedical Sciences at Makerere University, but also I will be speaking to Professor Shegun Fatumo, who is the head of NCD's genomics at the Medical Research Council, MRC, Uganda. Good morning, gentlemen, and you're welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
All right. Now, Mr. Katete, or Professor Katete, I will start with you. First of all, this conference, please tell us more about it. Give us an overview of the same and why me as Olive Najuma and the viewer out there should interest ourselves into this conversation.
Thanks very much. As Ugandans, we are privileged to host this conference. It's an international conference whereby the leading experts in human genetics come here to Uganda from Europe, from Africa, from the United States, and all over the world to discuss the latest development in human genetics and what that means for human health. Human genetics is about DNA, what we call the Ndagavutonde in the Uganda dialect, and that's the blueprint for life. That's what determines how healthy you are, how as an individual, and how you develop right from birth to what you are. So that's what the conference is about. There's a lot of advancements worldwide in human genetics as a field, but Uganda and Africa generally, we have lagged behind. So on top of discussing the advances, we will also discuss where Africa is and what all the development is, what that can be for Uganda, for Africa, and what we can do as a country and a continent to catch up with the world in the context of genetics and genomics.
Okay, interesting. Now, Professor, the theme is harnessing data science and artificial intelligence for African genomics. Tell us more about the theme. What exactly does this entire theme mean?
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you. Because to understand the language in which life is written is enormous, and it's written in a language that is so big and the data is so big, you cannot simply understand it or zoom to make sense of it with simple means. So we use computational approaches to make sense of it, and these computational approaches use a lot of computer and skills, and requires a lot of training. And the theme is now called data science, and it requires that kind of approaches to make sense of it.
Okay. Now, the other gentleman I'm speaking to today is Professor Shegun. Now, Professor, why is genomics research? Why does it matter to Africa?
Yes, genomics is very important. Genomics matters to Africa, not only Africa, to the global world. And one of the reasons is because we are now in the era of what is known to be precision medicine. What that means is that a kind of a treatment that is appropriate for an individual or appropriate for a group of individuals. So to be able to get to precision medicine, we need genomics. So our gene play a role in the kind of treatment that should be given to you or to me. Our gene play a role in the kind of treatment that should be given to an African that is different from people that are not African. If I give an example, if you have high blood pressure or if you have hypertension, there are so many medications out there. If you are very unfortunate and you are living in Europe or in the US, the most likely medication that will be given to you might not be appropriate for you because you are African, because your gene does not allow for that kind of medication. So we need to get to a stage where we can study the genomes of African and get the right treatment for them. And that's one of the reasons why we are holding this conference.
Okay. So if you're just joining us, we are having a conversation regarding the 15th African Society of Human Genetics, which genetics, yes, conference, and the first Uganda Society for Human Genetics and Bioinformatics conference. And the theme for the same is harnessing data science and artificial intelligence for African genomics. I am speaking to Professor Davida Katete, who is the Dean of the School of Biomedical Sciences at Makerere University, and also speaking to Professor Shegun Fatumo, who is the head of NCD's Genomics at the Medical Research Council. What is NCD's?
Non-communicable disease.
Non-communicable.
So we have non-communicable disease,
yes,
like diabetes, like kidney disease. We have communicable disease like malaria.
Okay, I already have questions that are coming through, and all of these will be answered. So join the conversation and ask the questions that you have on WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. The same number is displayed on your screen. You can also send a direct message, and the professors right here will be able to answer your questions. But for now, we are still going into the conversation. So the other point is the AI and data science in genomics. Please tell us more about that and the potential impact of AI-driven genomics research on public health in Africa.
So yes, we are in an era where we have a large data, and we need to use an appropriate method, an appropriate tool to analyze that data. So one of those tools is the artificial intelligence. Because like Professor Katete said, for us to be able to catch up with what is going on in other continents, like in Europe and America, we also have to be using the right tool. So AI is that one right tool that is appropriate, and ability to use data science is appropriate to be able to analyze large-scale data sets.
Okay. Professor Katete, did you have something to add?
Yes. In addition to genome sequencing data, AI gives us an opportunity to add to the data which is associated with human health. Assuming a patient who has a genome sequenced, so say a cancer patient, he also has what we call clinical and demographic data. He has social other demographic data, all the data sets that are associated with the patient's imaging data, all that can be aggregated into usable formats, which AI and machine learning approaches and so many of the tools in that algorithm that can make sense of to aid the clinician and tell the clinician that in addition to the clinical symptoms you saw, this patient is likely to present this way or that way. So it takes into account all the available data, however huge, into the patient management.
Okay. Now, before I even move on to the next question, Professor Katete, who is this conference targeting?
Ministry of Education, academics, faculty are going to attend, and students are going to attend, graduate students are going to attend. It's a conference of broad interest to everyone who has a keen interest in human health and how it should advance. Yes.
Okay. Now, the other question, one would wonder, when it comes to the highlights of the conference, what is its significance to Ugandans, but also how significant is it in fostering local expertise?
Maybe I should say that we have heard that of all human populations, Africans are the most diverse, phenotypically and genetically. Phenotypically, I mean outlook. We are the most diverse. And when you zoom in, Ugandans are, they say, we are the most diverse of all humans in the world.
Ugandans?
Yes, Ugandans. We are the most diverse. And what that means in the context of health, we do not know. So this conference will help us to begin to understand what the genetics, how it underpins this diversity, how it underpins health, how we can do predictions, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now, there is also one of the key highlights that are happening at the conference. I see it's the launch of the Kidney Gen Africa, which is an international partnership to study genetic factors behind kidney disease in African populations. Please tell us about its impact.
Yes, so Kidney Gen Africa is one of the initiatives that will be launched during the conference. Like Professor Katete said, Africa is very diverse. Uganda is very, very diverse. We have done some study in Uganda in the last few years, particularly in 2011. We went to a village called Shamliboa. And in that small village, about 22,000 people living there, we saw a lot of diversity, about 10 different ethnic groups. If you go to other communities in Europe, you don't see that kind of diversity that we see here in Uganda. That diversity is very important, is very relevant to the kind of medication that we have or the kind of treatment that will be appropriate for that community. So we are starting Kidney Gen because currently the kind of data that we need to do analysis in Africa are very, very limited. So what we are doing is trying to aggregate data all across Africa, and that this involves so many institutions all across Africa. We put that together, we analyze them together, we use the technique we are talking about in terms of AI and data science to analyze them. Apart from analyzing the data, we are also doing a lot of training. We have students that are registered at Makerere University doing a master program and PhD program in bioinformatics. So what that means is that they are learning the skills that is needed to analyze large-scale data sets. So this Kidney Gen Africa will be an initiative to be able to help for training excellence and research excellence.
Okay. Now, let's have a look at building sustainable collaborations between African countries, the US, and even European countries. How do these collaborations, or how will they accelerate scientific discoveries tailored for African populations?
Yes, so as part of the Kidney Gen program I mentioned, one of the things we are doing is research exchange. So we have students that are trained here at the university here. So they go to Europe and stay there for 6 months or 1 year. They learn some skill over there, and they come back home and they bring that skill back home to analyze our own data, not only for themselves, but for to analyze data to advance genomics. So that collaboration is very important. I must say that we are now in the area where our collaboration is at equal level. So we are not looking at anybody up there. So we are collaborating at equal level. So they know that we have some skills. We have the best of data that is very, very diverse. So we contribute that data. We contribute our skills, and they also contribute what they have.
Okay. Now, coming back to you, Professor Katete, let's look at the impact that this will have on Uganda when it hosts this conference. How does it position Uganda as a key player in Africa's genomics research landscape?
Yes, first of all, it will highlight how far we've come as a country in human genetics. We have moved certain steps, but we are not where we would like to be. So we will reflect, we will have our policymakers listening to advances in human genetics from Europe, from America, and what that means for Uganda and for Africa. I think we will make a case for the policymakers that, you look, this is where we would like to be, there are some specific areas where there is limited funding. We can appeal to that, and we request for specific funding, particularly in the training that Professor Segun has talked about. And training in human genetics is expensive, and so far all the training we've had has been through collaborations Professor Segun has talked about. We would like to appeal to the Ugandan government, to the policymakers, to look at that, to think about that, to consider also graduate training at that level for human geneticists. And more so, the field of genetics is, like we talked about, every phenotype, every clinical presentation has a genetic mechanism underlying it, but it's not yet well developed in Uganda. In future, we hope we should have clinical genetics, we should have clinical genetic counselors, clinical geneticists, and we think this is the beginning of that conversation with the policymakers, and so that's the advantage of this conference for us.
Okay, okay. Now, I have David, and I think David joined us a bit later on, but he asked a question: what is this data science and artificial intelligence? What is it all about? And I understand you had answered it prior, but kindly.
Yes, data science is a new field. It's one of those emerging disciplines. It even generally for technology, it emerged about, I think, 15 or 10 years ago. You can think of Google, you can think of Amazon, you can think of Netflix. They can aggregate all the data. When you do the Google searches, it's enormous, but they are able to understand what is going on behind the person who is doing the search. So even in health, there was a realization that we can take advantages of that to use similar computational approaches to analyze all this gigantic data about an individual or a health individual. You can have social demographic data, you can have now whole genome sequencing data, whatever data about you. So you can consider yourself, since you were born, there's a lot of data sets about you. Assuming it was all kept in one, say, computer, it could be huge. And because you could not just make sense of it, you need powerful computational tools. That's computer science tools. But even when you make sense, you need now a domain expert. Now this is a clinician to help make sense of it. So data science is a multidisciplinary field that requires computer scientists, requires domain experts. Now it's health and IT. It's a field that's multidisciplinary, bringing so many people together for a common goal. Now, in this context, it's advancing human health.
Okay, and how does artificial intelligence play into that?
Artificial intelligence, I think I would, like Professor Segun said, now artificial intelligence comes in to dig and dive into this data to make predictions about you. For example, it can build models based on the data set available. Like now, I can go away from human genetics to what is facing the country now, Ebola. We have these rapid, sporadic hemorrhagic fevers coming. We do not know why we do have these fevers every 2 to 3 years. So a data scientist can take all the available data sets about Ebola, about the virus, the sequences, and he can have patterns that perhaps in the next 2 to 3 years you are likely to have an Ebola, and the reason you are having the Ebola is because of ABCD. So the devil is in those details.
Munyonyo country resort?
Yes.
Okay. And the other question he asked is it free?
So the conference is not free, but for Uganda, if you are working on genetics or bioinformatics, or you have affiliation to what we are doing, of course, it could be free. Come talk to us, and we would like to see how we can make it accessible to you, particularly if you are from Uganda.
Okay. He said he runs a consultancy company called Uganda Science Education Consult.
Yeah, so we'd like to see him. He should come to us today. So the opening ceremony will happen at 3 p.m. Registration will start from 12 noon to 3 p.m. Come talk to us. We'd like to see you there and how we can collaborate together.
Okay, so he comes to Munyonyo Country Resort. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, as we come to the end of our conversation, I think this is an exciting move for Uganda and for the world of health in particular. But what are your expected outcomes and future prospects? I'll start with you, Professor Shegun.
So we are really very excited. We are expecting a lot will happen. We've done some pre-conference workshops. One of them was focusing on how do we analyze data that is very, very diverse. So we have trained people, 56 people from 15 different countries. And so after this conference on the 7th, there will be another workshop focusing on AI. How do you use the AI to analyze different kind of data? So we expect that all those skills that people are learning, they will be able to take it back to their country, or people that are in Uganda, take it back for whatever thing they are doing. So that would be one thing to learn. We're also looking forward to a lot of networking. At this conference, we already received so many, the best brain ever in data science, in artificial intelligence, in genomics. They've arrived here, so we're expecting that interaction with them. We're expecting that there will be some exchange between our students in Uganda, going to other places. We're expecting that. We're expecting that some more people will be interested in what we are doing in genomics. People will be interested in data science and AI, and they probably enroll for MSc program at the university or PhD program. So we have a lot of expectation coming up.
Okay, and how will you say the conference will shape Africa's genomics research agenda in the coming years?
Yes, so the future is bright. The future is very bright. You know, a few years ago, about 10 years ago, there are very, very limited people that are working on genomics in the whole of Africa. So things have changed a lot. Just in January, we had 2 students that had their PhD in Makari University here that were trained on bioinformatics. So they've become experts. And they are also going to be training other people. And those people that they train also will train other people. So the more we have more people that have the expertise to be able to analyze data, so it becomes better. So I think we are going to get a point where we are going to have a precision medicine, where we will have the kind of treatment that is appropriate for African, that is appropriate for Uganda, and will not only rely on what is coming from Europe or America.
And that's very important because, like Professor Katete said, that we are diverse people. And you see it, this ranging from health and even the beauty industry, where many that are made are not suitable for our genetics as African people. Now, Professor Katete, what are the long-term benefits of disease prevention, diagnosis, and treatment in African populations after this conference?
Yeah, we expect a lot of interest, first of all, in the trainees. We expect more Ugandans will apply for the available training programs at Makerere and other universities. But we also expect interest from collaborators to support them, and government also to support the training in bioinformatics, in genomics also. And we expect also increased funding opportunities from government and elsewhere for diagnostics here locally, because most of the diagnostics can come from human genetics, our blueprint. We expect an interest in that from Ugandans, and we expect support from partners and the government as well. So there are lots of expectations, but those are broadly that I can point out.
Okay. Now, the last question that will close our conversation, and he says it goes to both of you. It's from Chigwen Subuga Livingstone from Reza Ndeja Division. And he says, my question goes to the two gentlemen. How far have you reached in the capacity building? Because most of the time, themes of this nature come and vanish prematurely.
So we have a very different strategy. We are very intentional. In the last 5 years, we have consistently done training and capacity building in Uganda. So we are coming back in June. We are doing a training on a polygenic risk score so that we can use genetics to predict whether somebody will have a particular disease or not in the future. So we've done that training. We did it last year also in Makari University. We did it the year before also in Makari University. We continue to do that training. And when we do that training, half of the participants are from Uganda here, and we get half of the people coming from all over the world. So we continue the training that we do in Uganda. It's not going to be a training that will come today and will vanish. Anybody that is interested in that training should apply.
Okay.
In addition to that,
Yes.
we also launching the first Ugandan Society for Human Genetics and Bioinformatics, and the reason behind that is sustainability. We want to ensure that this kind of stuff is sustainable and continues. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen. Now, if you're just catching the tail end of the conversation, we've been speaking about the 15th Society of Human Genetics Conference and the first Ugandan Society of Human Genetics and Bioinformatics, all happening today at Munyonyo Country Resort. I've been speaking to two professors, one Professor David Katete on the extreme right. He is the Dean of the School of Biomedical Sciences at Makerere University. And right next to me, I have been speaking to Professor Shegun Fatumo, who is the head of non-communicable diseases genomics at the Medical Research Council, that is MRC Uganda. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming through.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. Now, Good Morning Uganda is unveiling something new, something beautiful, something bright and amazing. And if you want to know what that is going to be, all you have to do is stick with us from 6:30 up until 9 a.m. from Monday to Friday, and I promise you that you will love it. You will love it when it comes to the fore. But stick around. Up next is business updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange. Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda, your go-to morning show to kickstart your day with all the latest updates.
Let's dive deep into issues that matter most to you.
In a world of stories waiting to be told, the headlines are your guide. Navigate the currents of news and knowledge with our daily updates of newspapers. Stay informed, stay empowered.
From the roar of the crowd to the thunder of victory, witness the drama unfold with our sports updates, whether on the field or in the stands. Join us as we celebrate the spirit of champions.
Rise with Good Morning Uganda, weekdays from 6:30 a.m. Coming soon on UBC.
Are you ready to take your fitness journey to the next level? Join the Sweat Squad by Sion. Coming soon to UBC TV.